I saw him coming towards me. What pained me were his eyes. They were blind. It is out of such blindness that hatred is born. He came closer to me. Non-violence is the first article of my faith, I said. It is also the last article of my creed.
I took my last breath and left behind my life. My life was transparent. Even a child could see through it.
It was an entire set of conversations I had with the people of India and of the earth. A constant reaching out to the goodness in the human being. This was the foundation of my beliefs for the entire 78 years of my life. Nothing could erase it, not even a drop of rain.
On January 30th, 1948, when Nathuram Vinay Godse fired 3 bullets into Gandhi's chest and abdomen at point-blank range, he was making a statement. Wipe out Gandhi's ideology from the history of independent India
And replace it with the one followed by the Hindu Mahasabha and the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or the RSS.
the one of Hindu Rashtra. This cold-blooded assassination set off a struggle between 2 definitions of India. One of Gandhi's, where people of all religions lived as one country, and the other represented by the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which defined India as a racial Hindu nation.
Satya or truth, ahimsa or non-violence, sarvodaya or upliftment of all, satyagraha or passive resistance were the 4 pillars of Gandhian thought. Muhammad Ali Jinnah's Muslim League and the RSS were the 2 political parties which adopted violent communal methodologies on the sidelines and in opposition to the values of India's struggle for independence. Muslim League asked for Pakistan and the RSS called for a Hindu Rashtra. Both of them wanted Gandhi out of the way. The basic principles of the Hindu Mahasabha, led by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, and the RSS led by Dr. Keshav Baliram Hedgevar and Madhav Sadasiv Golwalkar are the same. They were heavily influenced by fascist ideologies of Hitler and Mussolini. RSS believed in cultural nationalism as opposed to territorial nationalism, exclusion of minorities, nationalism based on militant Hinduism with violence as its core principle, and adoption of Hindu culture as national culture. Gandhi rejected all these ideas.
In 1925, Savarkar said, Indians have to replace values like humility, self-surrender and forgiveness, and instead cultivate sturdy habits of hatred, retaliation, and vindictiveness. In October 1938, he said, a nation is formed by a majority living therein. What did the Jews do in Germany? They, being in minority, were driven out from Germany. On the eve of Savarkar's 59th birthday in 1941, his message was, Hinduize all politics and militarize Hindudom. In his book, We or Nationhood Defined, Golwalkar, the main leader of the RSS from 1940 to 1973, laid down the specifics of Hindu Rashtra. The non-Hindu people in Hindustan must either adopt the Hindu culture and language, must learn to respect and revere Hindu religion, must entertain no idea but the glorification of Hindu nation. In one word, they must cease to be foreigners or must stay in this country wholly subordinated to the Hindu nation, claiming nothing, deserving no privileges, far less any preferential treatment, not even citizens' rights.
Whereas Gandhi said, in India, for whose fashioning I have worked all my life, every man enjoys equality of status, whatever his religion is. the state is bound to be wholly secular. And religion is not the test of nationality, but is a personal matter between man and God. It must not be mixed up with politics or national affairs. Thus, it is not surprising that the Hindu Mahasabha, under Savarkar's leadership, shared power with the Muslim League in the Bengal and Sindh ministries before partition. On 20 January 1948, Godse and his gang made an attempt to assassinate Gandhi. Gandhi reacted to the assassinators. The man who thinks he has been sent by God, he has taken for granted that I am an enemy of Hinduism. It cannot be so. Those who are behind him or whose tool he is should know that this sort of thing will never save Hinduism.
Gandhi was very clear on his stand on RSS. Those Hindus who, like Dr. Munje and Shri Savarkar, believe in the doctrine of the sword may seek to keep the Mussalmans under Hindu domination. I do not represent that section. Finally, it was Ambedkar who settled the issue. He wants the Hindu nation to be the dominant nation and the Muslim nation to be the servant nation. Why Mr. Savarkar, after sowing the seed of enmity between the Hindu nation and the Muslim nation, should want that they should live under one constitution and occupy one country is difficult to explain.
In 1930, at the age of 22, Godse became a member of the RSS under Hedgewar and soon became its Baudik Pracharak or intellectual propagator. He was an ardent supporter of Akhand Bharat or undivided India. Godse was heavily influenced by the ideologies of the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS, which were basically the same. Having worked for the uplift of the Hindus, I felt it necessary to take part in the political activities of the country for the protection of just rights of Hindus. I therefore left the Sangh and joined the Hindu Mahasabha, remarked Godse. In 1934, he stopped actively working for the RSS and joined the Hindu Mahasabha headed by Savarkar and became the General Secretary of its Pune branch. In 1944, Godse, along with his friend Narayan Apte, started a newspaper called Agrani or Hindu Rashtra. He was its founder editor.
During the court trials, Godse stated that he had nothing to do with RSS and that he acted on his own. RSS disowned Godse since he was not its member, and there was no official record of members at that time. But in his book, Why I Assassinated Mahatma Gandhi, Gopal Godse, who was also an accomplice in the murder, very clearly says, technically and theoretically, he, Nathuram, was a member of the RSS. His statement in the court that he had left the RSS was to protect the RSS workers who would be imprisoned following the murder, on the understanding that they, the RSS workers, would benefit from his dissociating himself from the RSS. He gladly did it. Savarkar was Godse's mentor. Due to lack of evidence, Savarkar was not convicted in Gandhi's assassination. The report of the Commission of Inquiry into the conspiracy to murder Mahatma Gandhi, set up in 1965, headed by Justice Jeevanlal Kapoor of the Supreme Court, concluded, all these facts taken together were destructive of any theory other than the conspiracy to murder by Savarkar and his group.
At the trial, Godse said that Gandhiji had to be eliminated since he has acted very treacherously to the nation by his consenting to the partitioning of it. The partition of India was a complex set of processes with visible and invisible forces working at different levels, which finally partitioned the country. More than 500,000 people died and 12 million became homeless. It was one of the largest population movements in recorded history. To blame Gandhi for partition is historically incorrect and is a fictitious myth being propagated by RSS. The events and statements by the leaders of that period disprove this point. All through the struggle for independence, Gandhi's cry was that of a lone voice in the wilderness, saying that India should not be broken up. He stood steadfast in his belief until the very end. The demand for Pakistan, as put forth by the Muslim League, is un-Islamic, and I have not hesitated to call it sinful. Islam stands for unity and the brotherhood of mankind, not for disrupting the oneness of the human family. Therefore, those who want to divide India into possibly warring groups are enemies alike of India and Islam. They may cut me into pieces, but they cannot make me subscribe to something which I consider to be wrong.
Although Savarkar kept demanding for Akhand Bharat or undivided India, ironically, he was the one who propounded the two-nation theory in 1923 in his book Hindutva, 16 years before Jinnah did. In 1945, Savarkar went on to say, "I have no quarrel with Mr. Jinnah's two-nation theory. We, the Hindus, are a nation by ourselves, and it is a historical fact that the Hindus and the Muslims are two nations. The only alternative to Pakistan is undivided India," said Gandhi. There is no via media. Once you accept the principle of partition in respect of any province, you get into a sea of difficulties. By holding fast to the ideal of undivided India, you steer clear of all difficulties. In 1937, at the open session of the Hindu Mahasabha, Savarkar said, "India cannot be assumed today to be a unitarian and homogeneous nation, but on the contrary, there are two nations in the main, the Hindus and the Muslims." But Gandhi said, "The Hindu thinks that in quarreling the Musalman he is benefiting Hinduism, and the Musalman thinks that in fighting a Hindu he is benefiting Islam, but each is ruining his faith."
The anti-British movement led by Gandhi has been the biggest mass movement in the history of the world. During the freedom movement, there were other political trends striving for a secular, democratic, socialist India. Personalities like Bhagat Singh, Ambedkar belonged to this stream, while others like Jinnah, Savarkar and Golwalkar harped on a nation in the name of religion. Bhagat Singh fought for the rights of the working classes, while Dr. Ambedkar articulated the democratic values inherent in our nation. Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS kept aloof from the freedom movement and did not participate in the anti-British struggle.
Golwalkar felt that the freedom movement should not be an anti-British struggle fighting for territorial gains. Instead, be a movement towards establishing a Hindu nation.
In his book Bunch of Thoughts, Golwalkar said,
"The theories of territorial nationalism, which formed the basis of our concept of nation, had deprived us of the positive and inspiring content of our real Hindu nationhood. Being anti-British was equated with patriotism and nationalism. This reactionary view has disastrous effects upon the entire course of the independence struggle." During the freedom movement, a majority perceived India as a nation in the making, ready to start its journey of nation building. With the introduction of modern industrialization, education, and other related infrastructure. But the Muslim League and the RSS felt otherwise. They continued to define the nation as Muslim and Hindu entities, respectively.
This is what Godse said at his trial. On 13 January 1948, I learned that Gandhiji had decided to go on fast unto death. The reason given was that he wanted an assurance of Hindu-Muslim unity. But I and many others could easily see that the real motive was to compel the Dominion government to pay a sum of rupees 55 crores to Pakistan, the payment of which was emphatically refused by the government. The accumulating provocation of 32 years, culminating in his last pro-Muslim fast, at last goaded me to the conclusion that the existence of Gandhiji should be brought to an end immediately.
But the historical facts state otherwise. Out of a reserve of 375 crore rupees with the Reserve Bank of India at the time of partition, Pakistan's share was 75 crore rupees, of which 20 crore rupees had been given to Pakistan. The balance amount of 55 crore rupees or 550 million rupees was to be handed over later by the Indian government to Pakistan as per the agreement of 2nd December 1947. On 6 January 1948, the government of Pakistan sent a memorandum to the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank in Karachi asking for this sum of 55 crore rupees from India.
Gandhi began his fast on Monday, 13 January 1948. The fast was undertaken with a view to restoring communal harmony in Delhi. It was his day for observing silence. So after he began his fast, his written statement was read out in the evening's prayer meeting. In this statement, he does not mention the issue of giving 55 crore rupees to Pakistan. On January 15th, the government of India announced its decision to give rupees 55 crore to Pakistan. On hearing this, Gandhi should have ended his fast, if 55 crore was the main issue for his fast. He continued his fast till 18th January. The press release of the Government of India nor the list of assurances given by the committee headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad to persuade Gandhi to give up his fast did not include the issue of 55 crores. As per the agreement between both the governments, the 55 crores rightly belong to Pakistan, so Godse's argument is flawed.
Since the year 1934, over a period of 14 years, there were many attempts to assassinate Gandhi. Out of these attempts, some involved the Pune branch of the Hindu Mahasabha, while some point to the involvement of Narayan Apte and Nathuram Godse. Godse joined the Pune branch of the Hindu Mahasabha in 1936 as its secretary. These cases are well documented. In 1944, Godse was arrested while trying to assault Gandhi with a sharp weapon at Panchgani near Pune. Strangely, the issue of 55 crore rupees did not even exist then. After this event, Gandhi had invited Godse for discussions, but the latter did not respond to this request.
Pyariral, Gandhi's secretary, said, "These people kept photographs of Gandhi, Nehru and other Congress leaders in their shoes. They were trained to shoot by using Gandhiji's photograph as their target. These were the same people who later murdered the Mahatma while he was striving to bring peace to a riot-ravaged Delhi in 1948. What were the reasons for the earlier attempts made on Gandhi's life by the Hindutva forces? Thus, there were serious flaws in the argument since some of the issues raised by Godse at his trial did not exist during these earlier assassination attempts.
Towards the end of India's freedom struggle, Gandhi was not consulted on the major decisions that were taken, like the Congress resolution demanding the partition of the Punjab. I think I did not know the reason behind the working committee resolution. He wrote to Pandit Nehru on 20th March 1947. I cannot understand it. He wrote to Sardar Patel. Pre-partition riots took place in many parts of India. There was complete breakdown of law and order in Sindh, Punjab, Balochistan, the Northwest Frontier Province, Bihar, United Province, which is modern Uttar Pradesh and Bengal. These events led to the eventual partition of India. In areas with Muslim majority, Hindus were attacked, and in places which had Hindu majority, Muslims were targeted.
The British had followed a divide and rule policy in India, and this divide and rule policy was the primary cause of India's partition. As a Muslim League was formed, they were placed on a separate electorate. Thus, the idea of the separateness of Muslims in India was built into the electoral process of India. Muslim League was primarily supported by the aristocrats and the elites to begin with, and later on joined by some educated section of Muslims, while the majority of the Muslims in India did not support the politics of Muslim League and participated in the freedom movement shoulder to shoulder with others. People like Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, and ulemas of Barelvi and Deoband were totally opposed to the partition of India. Similarly, a majority of Hindus did not support the demand of a Hindu Rashtra put forward by the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS. The Hindu Mahasabha was started by Rajas and Zamindars, and the RSS was founded by certain elite sections among the Hindus. In contrast, the masses in India were behind Gandhi.
Despite India's independence, the administration remained under British control during the pre-partition riots. It would be a good thing if the British were to go today. 13 months means mischief to India, commented Gandhi. The Mountbatten papers clearly show the helplessness of the Home Minister, Sardar Patel, as he repeatedly complained to Lord Mountbatten that the police and the army were abetting the communal riots. Gandhi was moving fearlessly from one riot-affected area to another, trying to bring peace between both the communities. He spent Independence Day in Noakhali, where violence had broken out. In Noakhali, he said, "I have never experienced such darkness in my life before. The nights seem to be pretty long. The only consolation is that I feel neither baffled nor disappointed. I am prepared for any eventuality. Do or die has to be put to test here. Do here means Hindus and Muslims should learn to live together in peace and amity. Otherwise, I should die in the attempt. It is really a difficult task. God's will be done."
Unfortunately, the kind of freedom we have today contains also the seeds of future conflict between India and Pakistan. How can we therefore light the lamps, he said, on India's independence. Even if I am killed, Gandhi said, I will not give up repeating the names of Rama and Rahim, which mean to me the same God. With these names on my lips, I will die cheerfully. At the end of his life, Gandhi was a lonely man. He stood, a lonely figure, at the end of a road, empty and forlorn. January 30th, 1948 was a Friday. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. I knew that it was to be the last morning of my life. I chose a favorite Gujarati hymn for prayer. Whether weary or unweary, man do not tarry, stop not. You struggle live single-handed, continue and do not tarry. I was late for the prayer meeting that evening. I saw him coming towards me. He was holding the tiny black Italian Beretta pistol between his palms. What pained me were his eyes. They were blind. It is out of such blindness that hatred is born. When he bent low and said, Namaste Gandhiji, I knew it was time for my spirit to leave my body. It was 5:17 p.m. on January 30th, 1948. I will give you a talisman. Whenever you are in doubt or when the self becomes too much with you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man, woman, whom you may have seen, and ask yourself, if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him, will he gain anything by it? Will it restore him to a control over his own life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to Swaraj, freedom for the hungry and spiritually starving millions? Then you will find your own doubts and yourself melt away.